Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of the New Standard. You're checking out the show Steelers versus Falcons post game. As always, you can catch us doing a post game maybe about 15 minutes after the game. We will always bring it to you. If you want to participate in the show, please hit us on the chat. Want to welcome everybody that has checked into the program. Big up Steelers Freak. Steelers Freak is awesome. Gotta jump into his comment. Big up to everybody else who's participated in the program. Hit me with a like and subscribe. We'll also be putting the podcast up. Very interesting program. As we always say, when incorrect, that it is always best to win and correct. And I guess my streak is still going on. When I pick the Steelers not to win, the Steelers do win. We're going to get into a couple of things. We're going to jump into some numbers. The segment numbers don't lie. I'm going to give you at the top of the program our overall thoughts, a one-word thought on the first and second half. Some interesting thoughts on not the officiating, but I want to jump into how you judge calls, or at least how I judge calls. And I wanted to break that down with the third down, or I should say the fourth down call late in the fourth quarter, whether they should have gone for it or not. And I just want to give you my perspective on how I judge those type of calls. Also, we're going to just jump into some of the numbers. Numbers don't lie. We're going to jump into some thoughts on the program, the quarterback position, how it's going to move forward, what I think will happen. And let's jump into that really first. And of course, Russell Wilson did not start. Strained calf, aggravated the injury that he hurt during training camp. And let me just say this. As I look at the game book and I look at some of the player stats, and let me just say this. In terms of the quarterback position, I don't think there's much you can take from this particular game to suggest there will be some sort of quarterback controversy with the Steelers. I don't think you can do that. Looking at Justin Fields' numbers, he was 23 of 17. He was 23 attempts, 17 completions, 156 yards, took 2 sacks, had a completion of 46 yards, had a passer rating of 91.9. I want to say this again. Let me read this again. 17 of 23, 156, 2 sacks, a long of 46, a rating of 91.9. The key stat that does not show up in those numbers are touchdown passes. The touchdowns were 0. And in judging this quarterback competition, I think one thing that Tomlin is always going to do is, does the quarterback turn the ball over? 1 and 2, do we get the ball in the end zone? And check off the 1. He did not turn the ball over, Justin Fields. Number 2, though, they did not get the ball in the end zone. And I'm sure Tomlin is going to make a mental note of that. 6 field goals. Although the Steelers won the game, it is essential that you get the ball in the end zone. But this statistical stat line, I think, is the Steelers' floor at the quarterback position. This is the floor. Hopefully, moving forward during the season, that floor will raise. And hopefully that included in this stat line would be a couple of touchdown passes. Because if you go 17 of 23, 156, and 2 touchdowns and a 91.9, that looks like a very clean, more efficient game than this one. But kudos to Justin Fields going back home to the South, to Atlanta. Big up the Steeler Nation, being able to go down there and get that dub. I just have to say this real quick because it just, and I shouldn't make light of this. Please hit me with your comments. Again, you're listening to the New Standard, Steelers versus Falcons post game. Why did Tariq Hill get arrested in front of his? Come on, man. You can't. I mean, they turned Tariq Hill into Tariq Scheffler. Come on, man. Like, his name is not Scotty Scheffler. Let the man go in and score touchdown passes. Trust me, this is not going anywhere. But this game, if I were to describe this game, particularly in the first half, some of the adjectives I would have used looking at this first half would have been uneven, scared, a little jittery. I thought the offense was really uneven. I thought it took a while for them to try to get into an offensive rhythm. I thought they were playing a little scared, and I thought the offensive line was a little jittery. And to Builder's life question, I am going to be going solo this year. Neil was going to get in where he can, but Neil's very busy with some outside stuff that he's doing. But make sure you continue to support Neil and everything he does. He will be sending me his predictions. So big up to Builder's Life. Oh, also Builder's Life. You got some supplements you can send me? You know, I'm a middle-aged black man. I need some supplements. Pause. Some supplements and not blue chews, but I need some supplements, dog, to kind of tighten all this up. But again, in the first half, I thought it was uneven. It really looked like first game jitters. It really looked jittery. And if I were to use a phrase to describe the first half, it was try to win the game, not lose it. You know, Tomlin always talks about playing in his fears. Um, yeah, like he was playing in his fears in the first half. I think the game was moving fast for the entire offensive line, who had a lot of new guys in it. I thought Zach Frazier played outstanding today. I just think everything was moving very fast for the offense in the first half, and I thought it was uneven, scared, a little jittery. So I think they tried to, pull it back a little so they don't lose the game, so the game doesn't get out in front. Bottom line, I mean, the other thing I'd like to add is bottom line. In my frustration while I was watching the game, I'm saying to myself, let Justin Fields turn it loose. See what you got in Justin Fields and in the player. However, me thinking that gets me away from the primary objective of playing the damn game, and that's to win the game. Every game in and of itself is the game in and of itself. Your responsibility as coach, as staff, as players is to manage that game. You can't try to manage and coach a game trying to manage and coach future games. You do what you think is best to win that game. And I thought they were playing it very conservative, very close to the vest in the first half. In the second half, I would describe it as comfortable. I think they got a little bit comfortable with the underplay stuff from Justin Fields. I thought they got comfortable booting him out, especially to his left, and letting him throw across his body, especially to the boundaries. I thought they got a little more comfortable. They ran it a little bit better. I think they settled into the game. I also think the coaching staff thought that they really had a good handle on what Atlanta was trying to do offensively. And I think that carried over to the offensive side of the ball as Arthur Smith took some of the handlebars off and let Justin Fields try to do some things, introduce some quarterback run stuff in the second half, and let him get into more of a comfort zone. I suspect if Justin Fields is the starter next week, it'll look a little bit better. But the thing about Justin Fields, though, always, and we talked about earlier in the program, Tomlin is going to value not turning over the pill. And let me just translate that. Pill is the ball. I just want to translate. He's going to value the pill and scoring touchdowns. The exchange stuff with Justin Fields and Frazier is alarming. And I will guarantee you that stood out to Tomlin on the first offensive snap of the season. you get a fumbled exchange. I mean, that can't happen. That's part of how I think Tomlin is going to evaluate moving forward in terms of what they do with the quarterback position. Big up to my guy, Ali Howard Species 5618. And if you guys are feeling so inclined as you listen to the new standard Steelers versus Falcons post game, are you ready for some football, baby? Hit me with a super chat. Hit me with a super chat. Please contribute to the program. Anything helps. Also, hit me with a like and subscribe, and please share the show with your friends. So, overall, first half, uneven, scared, a little jittery. Second half, comfortable. Now, I want to get into, before we jump into the numbers don't lie segment, I want to jump into, should they have kicked the field goal? And before I jump into that, please, in the chat, and big up to everybody in the chat, please give me your thoughts. Simply, yes or no, should they have kicked the field goal? Anthony says yes. I want to get your thoughts on it. Now, let me ask you guys too, if you're listening, is your answer yes influenced by the result of the play? Yes or no? So if you answer yes, just hit me with two whys. Why? Why would be yes, I wanted them to kick a field goal. Okay, so good. So Anthony is following the program. Big up to Anthony. He said no. So, and that's my thought. And I think Anthony knows where I'm going is you can't judge plays by if they work or not. I think you have to judge a play call by the situation, down in distance, whatever. I mean, but everything else but the results. Because I think had they made it, you win the game early, right? Had you made it, you go up, you score a touchdown, the game's essentially over. I think the way they were playing defense, I think Tomlin feels we have the field flipped. Let's be aggressive. Let's go for it here. Let's try to end the game. Let's not play in our fears. Let's end the game. I think he also was thinking, we kick the field goal. Maybe they get a return. Who knows? Maybe they get us some good field position. So, worst case scenario, if they don't score the touchdown on that particular play or convert the fourth down on that play, they still have the Falcons stuck in their negative territory, and the defense has been playing well, and the front four, which played outstanding today, is getting consistent, sustained pressure. On the flip side, if you kick the field goal there and get up 8, everything that I said pertaining to the defense is still in effect. Big up to my guy, Marcus J. What up with you, baby? What's good? Happy football season, MJ. What's happening? Were you at the game today, baby? And were any of you guys that's listening to the program at the game? Were any of you guys at the game? If you were at the game, please hit me on the chat. Let me know about the atmosphere and how it was down in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Overall, on that particular call, I would have been more conservative and kicked the field goal and gone up 8 and let my defense kill the game. That's what I would have done. I'm not mad at the decision. However, sometimes with Tomlin and the way that I guess I look at the game is sometimes the logical points, and let me know if there's any mic issues. I think I plugged the mic back in, but let me know if you can still hear me. Hit me with a thumbs up. Sometimes Mike Tomlin makes some decisions according to my logical thinking that he uses the same logical reasons and goes into the reverse and does the reverse thing. Thanks, James, for the thumbs up. And does the reverse thing. So, for instance, because he thought the defense was playing well, that's why I would have kicked the field goal. But he takes that same logic, flips it on its head, and does the opposite. Either way, the execution of the play was bad. And that's another thing that I think Tomlin will use in terms of evaluating the quarterback position. Turnovers, touchdowns, and just basic quarterback play. Just basic execution of the offense, executing it cleanly, getting everybody lined up, just the management and the execution of the position, getting folks lined up, making sure everybody's on the right page, proper cadence, clean exchanges, just the mechanisms and the mechanics of playing clean quarterback. I think that's also going to play largely in who starts the game. And I think that's answers all the questions. And we know, Steeler Nation, as to why Russell Wilson starts. Russell Wilson executes that play. They may not have made it, but them failing to convert the fourth down isn't because of inconsistent execution of the play. And I think the difference between Fields and Russell Wilson at this point is Russ plays a cleaner game, especially if your goal is to win on the margins like they did today. But let's jump into the numbers don't lie segment of the program, and we'll jump on it on both sides of the ball. Looking at the red zone stuff, very interesting in this game. Not a lot of red zone trips for either team. And in fact, both teams combined for 4 red zone trips. The Steelers were 0 of 2 in the red zone, and the Falcons were 1 of 2 in the red zone. Of course, you want that to increase. And that's the thing that I keep saying. Like, if Justin Fields is going to be the guy starting at quarterback, you've got to be better. You've got to get more red zone trips. And when you get those trips, you got to execute in the red zone. So not a lot of red zone trips for either team. In terms of third down, the Steelers were solid. They were 8 of 17 on offense, which is very good in terms of converting your third down, which also shows in the second half, I thought they were in much better third and manageables, and that's why they were able to convert those third downs. The Falcons were 2 of 9 on third down, and that's a very good offensive line that this defensive front was going up against. And if they can handle a defensive front like that, if those guys stay healthy, I mean, the way they were collapsing the pocket, way they were getting consistent pressure. I mean, TJ Watt had a fantastic game, and half of his damn stats got taken off. Interesting note, when you take a look at the net yards, Steelers only had 270 yards of offense. Again, as you get more consistent offensive play, that will go up. I'm sure the staff would like to have 300 yards and above, maybe 350 and above, because 270 is very low, especially when you look at it. The Steelers only average 4.1 a play. That's absolutely dreadful also. Some of that is they've got to execute more and better and more crisply in the passing game, and they've got to run the ball a little bit better. By the same tokens, the Falcons only had 226 yards of overall offense, only ran 50 plays. So defense is really fresh. That's not a lot of snaps for an offense to run. As a whole, they averaged 4.5 as an offense, which is very good. Under 5 is awesome if you're a defense. In terms of net rushing and rushing plays, the Steelers ran the ball 41 times. That is a volume of carries. I mean, that is a bunch of carries. They ran it in total for 137. Some of that includes quarterback run stuff. I thought the Steelers did a very good job on Bijan Robinson, really holding down that running game. They only got 89 yards on 22 carries. The big stat of this game was the turnovers. The Steelers turned the ball over. They turned them guys over and was able to change the game. Big turnover late in the game to seal the game. Got a fumble recovery. just big in general, being able to take the ball away. And Kirk Cousins looked pretty rattled. He looked pretty shaky. He looked pretty rattled. They turned him over twice, 2 interceptions, and they got the fumble. Very solid game and being very disruptive. The formula for them winning this game looked really like last year. He just tried to not lose the game. Let your defense put you in some prime positions to possibly win the game. Don't give the game away. And they could have had a third pick on the first draft, I think, as well. First drive for the Falcons, I should say. They could have scored or they could have got an interception there. But statistically, the game it's pretty interesting. I mean, in the modern day NFL, when you throw for 156 yards, I mean the yards per attempt probably about 5 yards per attempt, both sides, both the Falcons and the Steelers. Not a lot of offense in the passing game in this game. Very much a defensive slugfest. On the ground, Steelers ran it 41 times again for 137. Some of that is Justin Fields. 57 yards of that is Justin Fields. I thought Najee Harris, big run for the 20-yard run, ran it pretty well situationally. Again, this offense is a mix in progress. And I want to jump into, thank you, York Steel. Thank you, York Steel, for the contribution in the super chat. Love you too, baby. Thanks for loving the show. Please like and subscribe to the show. Let me jump into a couple of your comments on the chat real quick before we go ahead and conclude. James Galloway, in terms of the fourth down stuff, wrote, I think Tomlin wanted to see situational football stuff. I'm not sure. I think the execution was bad. I don't like the logic of the decision. I would have gone up 8, and I'm not saying that based on how the play went. My logic just tells me the way that my defense was playing, I would have rather kicked the field goal and gone up 8. Marcus J. Interesting point, Marcus J. Marcus J said Kirk Cousins looked like he couldn't move at all. I thought he looked a little, I don't know. I thought he looked okay a little bit, especially when he rolled out for the touchdown pass. But I think he looked like a guy in a new system that hadn't played football in a long time. And he was a step slow, and the Steelers' defensive line was balling. Kevin Motley chimed in. What's up, Big Kev? Kev chimed in and said, I was at the game today rocking my Steelers Vic jersey. We had Mercedes-Benz looking like Acrisure, baby. That's right. You know what the Steelers do. Steeler fans do, baby. They made the 404. They added 8 to it and made it the 412. That's what we do. You see how I dropped them, Ryan? 404, add the 8. Put the 412. That's what we do. Bars, baby. And if you're looking for a solid album, make sure you check out that new LL Cool J. LL Cool J was getting busy. Glad you had a fantastic time, Kev. He's right too. Defense was stellar. Defense was stellar. He also commented that Bernie Bishop looked fast as hell live. And I want to make a mention of Bernie Bishop. I've said a lot about the slot position. It did not show up as an issue. But I do want to point out his tackle in open field on the screen to Bijan Robinson late in the game was fantastic. That might have been the low-key play of the game. Because if he doesn't tackle Bijan Robinson on that play, I think Bijan Robinson scores. And I think it's just great that we're pointing that out because it's little stuff like that when you add it up in the aggregate that wins you football games. It's not always the most obvious stuff, but it's stuff like that. One other thing I want to mention too on offense that is alarming. When you look at the wide receivers in the game, the only wide receiver that had a reception in the game, No. Let me take that back. There was only one other wide receiver with a reception in the game, and that was Calvin Austin. Wide receivers other than George Pickens were targeted 4 times. Had 2 receptions for 8 yards. Needless to say, they are going to have to figure out who that other wide receiver option is going to be. Who is it going to be? Also, Matt Freiermuth was 4-4 on his targets. George Pickens, solid game, 6 receptions on 7 targets, 85 yards. Got to get better in situational football, though. He's got to get better on situational football. You got to know what the situation is, and you've got to get out of bounds. I thought he got bailed out by the refs, and luckily for the Steelers, he stepped out of bounds. But he's got to do better in situational ball. Beanie was clutch. That was a nice tackle. And so let me jump into this comment from Grayson. Big up to Grayson. Grayson, what's up with you, Playboy? Peace, Lance. The offense had trouble getting in the rhythm, but came through. O-line played decent. Defense looks really elite. Defense does look elite. And I think that's the other reason why you start Russell Wilson. Because if you're trying to win games at the margins like this, the mechanisms of running an efficient offense, just the maintenance of it, are important. Converting in the red zone is important. Not turning the ball over is important. And not taking sacks. Good for Justin Fields. He only took 2 sacks in this game. But if they want to play like this to win games, I think you've got to play Russell Wilson. Kudos to Justin Fields in this game. But there wasn't anything that I saw, and he ripped that throw at the end of the half. There was nothing, though, that I saw from Justin Fields that makes me think it would change the mind of the coaching staff as to who will be the starter in game 2. I still think it's Russell Wilson's to lose because I think the management of the game will be better managed in the hands of a veteran because I think they don't want their quarterback to lose them games and every once in a while win them games. And I think the volatility and the variance with Justin Fields at times can be too high and too low. I think the gap between his ceiling and floor is too wide for sustained QB play week to week. Because at some point in time, one of those botch snaps, they're going to turn it over. I mean, he's been lucky in preseason and in a regular season that he's recovered all of them. Kevin Motley said, I agree. Keep certain packages for Justin, though, because he glides when he runs. That speed is different. I would agree. I mean, if you can work in the quarterback run game and play him situationally where it doesn't seem obvious that he's going to run, great. I mean, but everybody knew on that call, and kudos to him, there was no way that they were going to run the ball there on 3rd and 5. Pass the ball on 3rd and 5 to pick up that 3rd down. We all knew that they were going to run. I was surprised that they were going to convert it, but the quarterback run seems to be something that they need to incorporate and keep injecting in their offense. Work in progress. 18-10 win. No touchdowns, but a dub. And if you look at the rest of the division, the Ravens have lost. The Bengals lost. We're going to see if Cleveland loses. I hope they lose, but I don't like the Cowboys either. And Dak Prescott got his bag. And, he wore that new jacket too. That was hilarious. Let me jump into this couple of comments before we get out of here. And yes, let me not be remiss as I wait to the damn end of the program But Boswell is bionic. Bionic Boswell. He the man. That's the man of the game. Boswell, 6 field goals, baby. Holla. Let me jump into this comment from Grayson before we get out of here. Justin just needs time to view the game from the sideline. He has the tool, just needs to get better mentally. He looked good when he threw the ball downfield. Yeah, I mean, but unfortunately, to Grayson's point, you don't get a ton of time. I mean, he's going to have to figure out some way to speed that progress up. I mean, he just is not going to get a ton of time. But his physical traits are, I mean, we all see him. I mean, he's freaky athletic. Howitzer of an arm, runs a 4.4, big, physical. I mean, he's a physical freak. He just has to he has to learn and do better at the nuances of playing the quarterback position. But with that, listeners, can't get a better start to the NFL season with a Steelers win 1-0. If you have not liked the program, please like and subscribe. Again, you were checking out the new standard Steelers versus Falcons post-game show. 1-0 Steelers. Let's hope the whole division loses. So on this Sunday evening, or whenever you listen to this show, the Steelers will have clinched the playoff spot, being 1-0 and being in front of the division. But with that, we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Let's go, baby. 1-0 Steeler football. Let's go.